used to tell him, as a Yoruba man, and the moment I'm a Yoruba man too, and God has made him the father of the Yoruba race, both within and in the diaspora of this country. But it's just by grace that I'm still very much alive, just by the grace of the Almighty God.
He has his ways of doing things. Back then, I would say, you like to spoil things to create another good thing. Like, for example, now, there is a flask my mommy bought, and it was the only flask at home with a handle. He cut the handle with scissors and used the handle to make shoelace.
Very articulate, and he's quick to learn. Table tennis, because of he would just watch us playing lawn tennis, because I used to teach him how to play lawn tennis. And I taught him for a couple of days. You know how difficult lawn tennis is. A couple of days at the Polytechnic Ibadan. The next, I think I taught him for about 3 times or so. The 4th time we were playing, and I got defeated. You won't believe it.
Kadis, you, congratulations. This is wonderful. 5 years of God being faithful to you, being faithful to the entire Yoruba race. You've been wonderful. You've been, in fact, I would say excellent.
When we were young, there's this time he was looking at the sockets, and Kabiyesi went there, touched the socket. He wants to know, why is it that we will put a plug and it will be working, it will bring light, it will be working. So Kabiyesi went inside and was trying to unscrew it something, and it got short. And then that was when we now named me NEPA.
Growing up with Oniade, it was fun. I'm directly right after him. And when I say it was fun, I mean it was fun. We fought a lot. We fought on simple things like food, like household chores, like Binte, go and take your book and read. Then, you know, in school, he was very brilliant. He likes to study a lot. He likes to do all these petty things outside school, like sewing, shoes. He was so handy then.
So there was never a dull moment. Very fun-loving. And he's always been very social, so to say. I'm sure you must have heard the stories 1,000 times about him dancing for his secondary school and all of that.
My brother is very creative with his hands, with his mindset, and his line of thoughts. He has a creative mind. We were just relaxing outside, our own domain in Ibadan. We were outside, myself and the late mother, and we just saw suddenly one white garment gentleman passing by. All of a sudden, he just branched to us. And he greeted us, we greeted back, and he told us that, well, he had a message for us, and we told him, go on. That it could easily lose, that within a period of time, God is sending a personality into our family. And we were just wondering, personality? So yes, like as a child. Already as at that time, we've already had the grace of 4 children. He couldn't say actually the position of that child when it's going to come. But there is one thing that is constant. the mode of his arrival. He told us that that child, if the delivery comes up 5 minutes to 1 p.m., it's not that child. If the delivery comes up 5 minutes after 1 p.m., it's not that child. But exactly 1 p.m.
The father said one thing that I will never forget. The father said, look at him. Here he is. He's the one that I want to occupy the throne. He has elders, but he is the one. That says a lot.
I've watched how you ascended the throne with humility and held on with dignity. You fought so hard for what you believed in, and you continue to show the people of Ife immense love. I'm most especially proud of how you always advocate for peace and how you bring everybody together. The people of Ife are proud to have you.
Gẹ́gẹ́ bí afọbajẹ ọ̀kan nínú àwọn afọbajẹ mẹ́rìndínlógún tó wà lẹ́fẹ̀ẹ́. Ìdùnnú mi ní ojoojúmọ́ ni wípé Ọlọ́run mọ̀ ràn wá wá ó rán bàbá dé ọmọ Ilé-Ifẹ̀ náà wá sí orí àpèrè yẹn bàbá wọn. Nítorí pé àpèrè yẹn onídòkó yẹn kò ń ṣe ẹrù ọmọdé àtàlájẹnukú ni. Àfi ẹni tí Ọlọ́run bá yàn. Direct person tí àwa kingmaker sáyé Ọlọ́run rẹ̀ yẹ ká sì yàn.
Kabezi has dignified and enhanced that stool, that throne.
Him contesting for the kingship, it didn't come as a surprise because there has been prediction beforehand. But he's kind of a person, growing up with him, I know he's fit and he will be able to carry his people along.
All right, thank you so much everybody for coming out and for being here on stage. As it is, we have merged the two panel sessions together, and my own question would be directed to the people that are supposed to be on the second, whilst our own panel session our own questions will be directed to the persons that should be on the first. So I think to move this things forward, I'll just go to the people that were supposed to be on my own panel, so that. And my first question is actually going to the. So my first question is actually to Bello Shagari. I had to get your attention, yeah. So, I took the liberty of checking a few things out, and I found out that you've done a lot of research and all of that. And people would always say that for you to move forward, sometimes it's important that you look at your history and where you're coming from. So my question to you then is, how best can we frame the stories of our past as a nation in a way that triggers and empowers youth involvement in Nigerian politics and governance? Now, before you answer my question, I think it's important that I let people know what the focus of our conversation is. So our whole conversation is around deepening good governance, African youth population inclusion in democracy, and economic development. So the question again, how can we look at our past, or what are the things in our past that can help us to deepen youth, involvement in politics in Nigeria and governance? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it is a very important topic to discuss, And indeed, history is a very important part of our progress. They say history makes the future. I'll give a brief example because we don't have time, and I will talk about something that we all relate to. For instance, we just underwent the NSAS protest. And sometimes you wonder if people that are involved in this movement understand what we have been through in history. Because it's only by learning from that past that we can forge ahead. Do you understand the mindset of the people you are dealing with? Or you are just out there because you want something and you want to get it by any means? You see, these people you are dealing with, they are very intelligent people. Very, very intelligent people. So before you can get what you want from them, you have to be double intelligent, if there's any such word. You have to be twice intelligent. Maybe that's better. So these are people who planned what Nigeria is today. Let me give you a typical example. Rightly or wrongly, some young people, okay, let me start from independence. Some young Nigerians decided that they want independence, and they agitated and they got it. Rightly or wrongly, some young people decided to overthrow the First Republic, and they did, and it changed the destiny of the nation. Rightly or wrongly, some people also decided to overthrow those who were in charge, overthrowing, until we get here. And these are the people that are still ruling this country. This is not the time to overthrow. It's a different time entirely. You cannot overthrow. But what are we doing to ensure that we have changed the course of this country? So we have to think intelligently. We cannot pour to the streets and not plan, and not strategize, and not engage. So it is very important that we reflect back to history, use our intelligence to face these people who are twice intelligent now. So we have to triple the intelligence to be able to get our way. And a small advice, I will not have, maybe I will not have another chance. 2023, it is our joker. So let's be piling towards 2023. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I think one of the major intelligence, and beyond just pouring to the street, we should be a lot more strategic with our actions so that we can get better results out of the things that we do. Thank you so much for that brilliant contribution. All right, so my next question actually is going to Badabo. That's road driver. Now, I know that, you know, in the last election you contested as for senatorial position, and I saw in one of the things that you wrote, right? You said it this way: our dreams can never be achieved in isolation. Only by working as a community, we can create then Lagos that we will all be proud of. Now, my question to you then is, now even look at even the NSAS that you referenced. One of the reasons why people couldn't do so much is that there were two classes of people in the same generation that worked technically against themselves, and they sabotaged what we really wanted. Now, the question then is, as youths, how can we begin to align our ideologies? How can we align our desires in a way that we can come together, you know, to form that bond that will deliver something significant for us come 2023? What are the steps that you think we can take together, though?
Okay. I think the first dichotomy, the literate and illiterate, you know, that participated during NSAS, the only issue was that even though the youth make up the majority of the demographic, they are also the most affected by poverty. So you find that 40 to 60% of them are up for the highest bidder and will do anything that they will do anything that you pay them to do. The rest were the builders that were resourceful. The rest were the builders that showed resourcefulness, that showed responsibility, that showed ideas, and were innovative in solving lots of problems. And that is the energy that we need to channel into 2023, like he said. Because as we move forward, we have to make decisions not just based on emotion. It has to be strategic. It has to be data-driven. People need to go and understand the numbers that have happened in the past elections, looking at history as well. And we need to declare a war on voter apathy. It's extremely important, because what we don't realize as youth is every time we make so much noise and build such a groundswell of emotion online and with the media, when the election happens and it's just smoke without fire, we cease to be taken seriously. And if this repeats itself consistently, we lose our place on the potential table where we can sit down and negotiate for our interests and push for reforms that can actually move this country forward. And it's only with those reforms that we can actually build the human capacity to then solve the first problem we talked about, which is this poverty-stricken huge group of youth that will be used and mobilized in elections, which further pauperizes the nation. And I feel that this new group of people that have been woken up, we need to engage them politically as well and explain to them that, you know, politics is not activism that's just pure and idealistic. Politics is about building consensus, it's about achieving compromise. And at the point where you do that successfully, as long as the people come first, then we build a better nation and a more equitable union.
Thank you so much for that. I think, you know, please let's give a consensus, you know, for development, not for activism, you know, engagement so that people can come together for consensus. So for people that are looking to, you know, move into one office or the other, I think now is a good time for us to begin to, you know, engage people, not to move them to vandalism and activism, but towards consensus so that we can all agree on one thing and move for it in unison of purpose. All right, so my question to, you know, Barrister Mike, you know, not the Barrister Mike on Instagram now. Right. Now, I know that by virtue of what you do, you would have interfaced with a lot of SMEs, you know, business owners and all of that. Now, and one of the things I've come to believe is that, you know, one of the things that will drive development and the change that we desire in the nation Nigeria is enterprise engagement and enterprise development. But you know, a lot of people would say that the Nigerian environment is not so supportive, it's not this, it's not that. Now, from where you stand as a lawyer that understands all of these policies and all of those things, what can you say to, you know, people that are here tonight, entrepreneurs, SMEs, that are looking to, you know, build something sustainable for themselves and then for the nation so that, you know, we can have what we call wealth distribution through enterprise development? What would you say that they need to do that will begin to strengthen them, you know, from first a legal perspective and then, you know, generally from a business angle? I'm sure you practice your own business and there are some things that you must have done that gave you results.
Thank you very much for that question.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What can youth do for business? Actually, it's a tough one. Okay. Because the system is wired, is rigged to frustrate business. As a matter of fact, starting business in Nigeria, the day you start, you are 10 years behind your contemporary in Ghana. Now we're not even talking about the US, because the policies and everything are rigged against you. But that does not mean that you would drop out of it. I say that business is not for the faint-hearted, particularly in Nigeria. You need to have a determination. So we need to change the mindset of, if I don't get a job, I'll do business. It has to be a question of, I am going to do business for business. Yeah. I'm going to go into entrepreneurship because that is what I want to do. You cannot afford to continue to say you're looking for a job while you are running your business. You will never run that business correctly. The second thing you need to do is to collaborate. We have too many young people doing business in silos. So we have people with resources that will need to build empires who are trying to do little things. You are trying to have 100% of a small thing when you can have 10% of a major thing. So what we should begin to do as youths, we can learn from what we did on, with the NSAS protest, where we all came together and there was no champion in the sense of it. Yeah. Everyone played their part. We can do the same thing for business.
let's begin to have young people come together, 5, 6, in groups. And I'm already seeing a lot of people doing that, but we don't have enough of that. And I could go on, but those two things are key. You need to ensure that your mind is made up. It is business or nothing else. And then you need to collaborate with people who are doing similar things.
Thank you so much for that beautiful for that beautiful answer that you gave. And I think somebody said it this way, that persistence in business simply means that you can suffer long. That principle of long suffering. So for anybody that is here, it's going to take a while before you break through. That's true. But you must be willing to suffer long. And I think the most important thing that you spoke about is the power of collaboration. So if you are here, you're networking with people, I think one of the things you should be looking out for is who can I live here with the intention of collaborating with after this meeting. And that would make this meeting a successful one. Thank you so much. At this point, I'm going to be handing over the mic to Elizabeth to continue with the panel session. Thank you so much, Saz and Maz, for staying with us so far.
We are assisting Elizabeth to run through the second panel session. And the first person I'll be directing. Okay, the first person I'll be directing my question to is the founder of Sujimoto, Shijibomi. Okay, so before I go on, my panel is basically on innovation, because as a people, we wouldn't move forward if there's no innovation. Innovation is everything for us. We can't forge ahead if there's no innovation. So you are a real estate mogul, and you've been able to break the traditional norm of traditional real estate development. So how was it like changing the norm of traditional real estate development when you have billboards just saying buy house here, let house here? So how did you navigate changing that space? Darren.
All right, thank you very much, Darren. KBC, congratulations again for your 5th anniversary of your coronation. You've been and you always be an inspiration to this generation. We appreciate you forever. Darren, thank you very much. When I came back to Nigeria, the first thing I did was to declare war on poverty. I think poverty is the foundation of the problems we have in this nation. And in the process of declaring war on poverty, you have to declare complete war on mediocrity, where mediocrity is no more a norm. It does not matter if you have a rich uncle or a powerful auntie. With a foundation of innovation, quality becomes the only option. So I took two things. Everybody sees Sujimoto today, luxury, billionaire, whatever. But when I moved to Nigeria, I had nothing, to be honest. But I had the conviction that if you have two fundamental ingredients of entrepreneurship and you use those two things, you will reach wherever you want to go to. The first one is integrity, and the second one is quality. Quality, you cannot and you must not do anything called quality without asking yourself every day, how can I do it better? How can I do it faster? How can I do it more effectively? And that's where innovation comes in. You know, a lot of people buy lands, they build houses, square houses, and just sell them. And they make a business. We, as Sujimoto, we don't do that. We do what I call business development. We research, we travel, we invest, we look for talents, we ask them questions, we speak to off-takers and homeowners. We don't even pay attention not necessarily to our off-takers or to our investors. We go to them and say, who is your potential talent? What do you like? You've lived abroad before. Would you be comfortable to sleep in your bed? And when somebody rings your bell, you have to stand up and open it. Or you can press a button and it's opened. What about you being in America and you can watch, with the press of a button, you can watch what is going on in your house? So innovation, one of the things Sujimoto is, its success is responsible for, is our never-ending intention to innovate. You know, the name Sujimoto, my name is Suji. My name is Sijibomi, but since we were young, they call me Suji. So when I was 20, I went to Japan, and I met a Japanese man called Sujimoto. And he said, "Watashi wa Sujimoto, sir." And I said, "My name is Suji." And that gave him a lot of, because he has never seen a black man called Suji. And that changed me. And that trip taught me that if you don't innovate, you'll be removed in life. You have a responsibility to yourself to always do what the Japanese do best, which is Kani, C-A-N-I, continuous and never-ending improvement of oneself. So thank you very much, everybody. God bless.
Thank you very much. I think he has time to hand over to the next panelist because he's really said a lot. So the next person on the panel is Linda Ochubwa. And as head of sales and digital sales of Business Day, you have transformed, also like Sujimoto has done, you have transformed traditional media to online media. But in the midst of that, there's been a lot of thrash coming out of online media. So where do we strike the balance, and how do you see the balance being struck in light of the topic of innovation?
Thank you, everyone. Good evening, Kabiesi. Such an honor to be in Ife. This is my first time coming to
Very welcome
Nigeria. I'm really pleased and happy. Congratulations again. I just hope I can come back more often. But I would like to say I would like to say thank you for this opportunity. So when I joined Business Day about 8 years ago, also coming back from the UK after masters, I just felt that things should be done differently. And I'm a very strong advocate of innovation and creativity. Like, let's change the game. It doesn't always have to be the same way. If we always read newspaper, can we read it on our mobile phones? Can we read it at home first thing by 6 o'clock in the morning? Can you have it anywhere and everywhere? You don't have to go to the vendor. So we decided to change the game in how we serve. So one thing we have understood is it's the same news, it's the same story, but we are serving different generations at the same time, right? And in different places. So some generations want it on their phones, some generations want it in a system, and the older generations still want to read the hard copy. But let's change it. How do we serve you this information quickly, fast? And social media has also done something fantastic. Through, IG Live, you can have interviews and webinars. So while some people saw Corona this year and COVID-19 as a crisis, we saw COVID-19 as a breakthrough for us to be able to enter different markets. And then we had events also that could bring speakers from across the world to Nigeria, so you can be anywhere, and then also take part in Stocks and Learn, just like we're doing now. But it's been very innovative and great. We'll also say that there have been challenges, surely. And the challenges will be in the fact that not everybody in Nigeria has access to internet and data, and it's also really very expensive. Also the use of smartphones are not as much as you have in the UK and in the US. Hopefully we get there. And then the third problem we've also faced is the fact that everyone is also a media house on their own. So I think for me, the biggest challenge we've had this year is everyone is saying their own story and posting. So my advice to everyone, in as much as we've become our own media houses, is make sure you check before you post. Make sure it is correct. Make sure you are passing the right information and the right message. But to the young people out there, I think the world is now seamlessly open for everyone to become whatever you want to be. So social media have made you the king of your own territory. You can be whatever, anywhere, and there is no limitation. So you just need to think out of the box. What do I want to do that I have a passion for? What do I want people to know me for? How do I want to spread the word about my country, Nigeria, to pass the good news that we are not all bad people, we are good people, and in that way we can always change the world. Thank you.
Explore. So Timmy, as a lawyer, barrister, the law, what do you think we can do in terms of policy changes to ensure that we can have innovation? Do we have enough legislation, and what can be done in terms of policy changing?
Well, basically, the truth about it is that the wealth of nations is built on the foundation of intellectual property, which in simple terms means how much value or protection do we offer the products of the human mind, the mind seated here. And if you look at the US, China, Singapore, their initial wealth was built on that mentality, that mindset of nursing and protecting intellectual value. And so in that context, I think I just want to mention 3 key policy take-homes. First is the fact that we need to understand the importance of protecting IP. And protecting IP in the context of policy is that protection of IP needs to be easy and accessible. So the situation in Nigeria where we have Copyright Commission and then we have Trade and Patents, agency, different from the Copyright Commission, itself will not work in that context. It imagines that you have the Corporate Affairs Commission, and in the Corporate Affairs Commission, they deal with NGOs, and then you have another Business Name Commission, and then you have another Company Registration Commission. So this is the proposal to the federal government in this context. One, the reality is that we need a single intellectual property agency or commission that can serve the purpose of easy accessibility for IP registration that partners with WIPO. Fantastic key point. Secondly is the fact that royalties for entertainers, and entertainers include poets, musicians, actors. For entertainers, in order to build sustainable wealth for the entertainment industry and the entire framework around the entertainment industry, it's important we understand the importance of royalty. And so the proposal in a policy language is simple. The federal government needs to look inward and strike partnerships that can ensure the strengthening of collection of local royalties for entertainers in order to sustain wealth for them. And then the third and last point is the fact that I want to build that on the fulcrum of Immanuel Kant when he said that experience without theory is blind, but theory without experience is itself intellectual gymnastics. And so that holy matrimony of innovation, that is research, and then bringing it down to the importance of not just research institutions. There needs to be a connection between innovators, research institutions, and industry in order to produce wealth, because that is the foundation of collaboration. And that's what KBC is all about. Collaboration to create wealth for all of us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olagunju, Barrister.
And if the foundation be destroyed, ladies, you know that if the foundation be destroyed, what can the makeup artist do?
Thank you very much for that analogy. Definitely, KBC is a champion of innovation, and that's why we're here today. So the next person on the panel is Emeka Christopher Osai. And my question to you is, you've worked with entrepreneurs across several campuses, and you have had the model of building labs and everything. So how do you connect these innovations? So if you have one university here, another university here, how do you get to connect the innovation to achieve your overall aim?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, KBC. It's a pleasure to be here. A while ago, my wife and I were here, and this is the second time in a short space of thank you very much, KBC. In terms of connecting, because one of the things I realized is, if you look at the US, for example, top 3 spaces where things happen. You look at California, you look at New York, you look at Boston. And when you look at Boston, you can imagine the number of universities. You know, I was talking to Gbadebo, MIT, you're talking to Harvard, you're talking about Boston, like the amount of innovation that's happening right there. And when you look at our universities, you see that there's a lot of just conversations that's just going on for nothing. And at the end of it, everybody's trying to just get a job. So what we did was to start building up these spaces. We realized that a lot of these young people had ideas, but they didn't know how to connect these ideas, to the marketplace. So what we started doing was started running hackathons. And when we started running those hackathons, what we said was we would throw a problem at them. They would start working on those problems, and we begin to bring people who are interested in taking these ideas to the very next level. One point what we did was in trying to connect these talents to the marketplace, we started working with the world's biggest coffee makers, which is Nescafe, and we started building coffee shops. Because what the NUC did was to say, start teaching entrepreneurship.
Innovation actually starts in many coffee shops.
Exactly. And start teaching entrepreneurship. But everyone knows that entrepreneurship is not an academic exercise. Or say, according to Sujimoto in 1962, he said that entrepreneurship is this. So what we did was to put them in those coffee shops and then present them with a business case and start working with those business cases. And what happened was that companies started coming to those places to start recruiting that talent. So it was like a real practical street MBA. So what we are doing is now connecting all these young people to all these spaces and saying, hey, you are in Unibend, for instance, OJ, look at what's happening to the guys in UI, for instance. Do you want to connect your prototype to what's happening right there?
Amazing.
And OJ is saying, Yingpa is saying, I think so. I'm talking to some guys in so places. Can we come together and form a company? And those companies, so what we are looking at currently is saying, we know you might not be able to scale these companies as much as possible because the academic work is a lot, but can you at least get it to a prototype level? And then so the next level guys come there and say, okay, you know what? I want to take this thing to the next level, and can we buy you out? And that's what we're trying to do. So we connect the first people. So we're like an enterprise nursery, like a crèche, and take them from that level, and then we get the guys at the university level and PhD level to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take this thing and take it to the next level.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. Just round up quickly is Adewale Yusuf, right? Eitayo. Okay, I'm sorry about that, but so my question is just how do you use innovation to drive socio-economic development?
Thank you so much, Kabiyesi. Just as a background, what I do is to help people. I'm a teacher. I help people learn technology skills and help companies find them. If we're going to drive innovation, then we have to ensure that we build a model that makes talent very cheap and easy and accessible to organizations that are looking for them. Talent is very expensive in Nigeria. To get a programmer to build a product for you, you have to go find 400,000, naira as a young person. We can't build a country that way. So one of the things that my organization does is to build learning programs and make them very cheap and accessible, for individuals that want to learn, then help organizations to find them and organizations pay premium, to hire them. That model has really worked in so many countries. And that's one of the ways I think that we can really drive, innovation. Because the core of innovation is human capital
development. And
we need to ensure that we make that process of learning very easy and also very accessible. With COVID, it's been extremely tough for young people to access education. Universities on strike for 8 months, with learning from home is very difficult because you have to pay a fortune. An African pays 4 times, to learn online, unlike someone who lives in the US. So one of the things that we started doing is to put content in flash drives and encrypt that flash drive. And we got some little funding from MIT to scale that a little, putting content in a device, get that device in the hands of young people, and hopefully they learn. National Youth Service Corps saw that, got in partnership with us, but that's not the beauty. The beauty is to, cascade this down to the primary education so that a primary, school student can start to learn digital skill. And every time I say, this is the last point I'm going to say, learning digital skill is not necessarily because we want you to become a programmer or we want you to become a data scientist. There's just a way technology drives the way you think about problems. So if we all become programmers and, digital technologists in this room, and we're not necessarily practicing it, what happens to us is that the way we think about problems, changes, and we start to see problems from a more technology, driven and data-driven, digital-driven, perspective. And that's pretty much the way I think that we can scale and also cascade innovation across the country.
Thank you very much. I think on that note, he has given all of us here an assignment to go and learn digital programming, not because we want to be programmers, but we want to continue to think out of the box and we want to continue to be innovators. Thank you. On behalf of His Imperial Majesty, I would like to say a very big thank you to everybody who stayed on this panel session. Thank you very much for all the knowledge shared, and we're sure that it's not just going to be talk, there'll be more action at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Three very important things. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to put our hands together for ourselves for coming out tonight. Please put your hands together for yourselves. The second thing we're going to do, we're going to put our hands together for this building. The first stone that was laid on this building was on my birth month, August 1937. So it's older than every one of us here. Can we please put our hands together for this building? I've been seeing this building on Facebook, Instagram, and I'm like, damn. Then the last thing we're going to do, we're going to please, those people around are eating into my time. Please do a snap picture and go fast. Thank you. Because this light here is making me see ahead. Thank you. I want to have a personal thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the last thing we're going to do, we're going to put our hands together for His Royal Imperial Majesty, the only king in Africa that has imperial in his title. Please put your hands together for our king. I'm going to use my language. I bring you greetings from the Obong of Calabar, Obongowo, Emedio. Please put your hands together for our king. For those ones who don't know, hello, this work that you have started, are you sure you're going to follow me to the very end? Because what I'm about to do today, I don't think you have ever interpreted it in your full career before. So what you have started, make sure you finish. So ladies and gentlemen, okay, I'll be the first comedian in the whole of Africa to perform in front of 3 notable kings. The first time I ever performed in front of a king, this was the distance between I and him. And that was the Emir. And when I greeted him, after greeting him, he called his PA, and I was shocked. He gave me 500,000 naira. I said, wow, this is good. The next time I greeted the king, I went closer because I noticed the farther you are from him, you know, the little. So the next thing was my Obong of Calabar. It was this distance. And I greeted him. And he called his PA. And I got 1 million. I said, Jesus, wow. Today, I want to move a step further. If I be a man of God, but I'm not very sure yet. I'm moving closer. I have, the spirit is telling me move, move, move. It's telling me move, move. And the more you move, the closer you move, the closer your glory, the closer your breakthrough, the closer I move. And I move. If something is pushing me back, I say no, I'm still going forward. Something, no, I just remember the title of what I said was Youth, Thrones of Youth. I say, yeah, I'm a youth. Yes, I'm a youth. I'm moving further, and I lie down here. Please put your hands together.
Olofi Adimula, Baba Adeyeye Enitan, Ogunwusi Ojaja II. The Kabiyesi present, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be brief. Actually, the way we do in academics, we try to conduct research to be able to give a valid answer about what. But tonight, I'm so happy that the documentary here is a kind of summary of what I intend to talk about. A couple of hours back, when I was told I will have to speak here, I looked at the topic, the impact of creative culture in the Nigerian economy, the narratives of the youth. And I quickly looked at it. I had to do a kind of a change, putting it at effects of cultural creativity on the economy. And I'm going to center it on Kabiyesi. What we saw here, I need to thank those people behind this documentary. But to me, it does not represent what Kabiyesi has done in 5 years.
if we have to look at what he has done in 5 years, I'm sure we'll spend like maybe 2 months watching what the giant strides he has taken, both locally, nationally, and internationally. He has acted that role perfectly. He has linked that, bridged that gap between the Yorubas here and those in the diaspora. Ile-Ife is a vivid, accurate testimony of what we have seen in terms of changes. The economy here in Ife has changed with its ascension on throne. Just like I saw somebody mentioning that even the deities in Ile-Ife that we never heard of, he has tried to revive them. Not just reviving them, linking them to those in the diaspora. I've been privileged to have followed Kabiyesi to some countries in the world. And I saw the way and manner they appreciated what they believe.
Ọmọdún màrún bọ́lá ló lé wọlé.